on the session. Yeah, over to you, Ganesh. Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, Jiten. Thank you uh, to especially to Nishant for making this event happen. Thank you, Moshin, and we had a good discussion to start with before starting this session. So I don't think I need much introduction. I think Jiten, covered most of it. So I will just jump into the topic. So I think the relevant part that I think that I could start with is about the IntelliJ IDEA tool itself. How many of you have installed IntelliJ IDEA? Just type yes if you have already installed the community edition or professional edition or ultimate edition. I mean, you have. Uh, awesome. So all of you have installed, right? Excellent. So this will be a hands-on session, and I request all of you to code with me. So, and it will be quite interactive in that way as well. So let me share my screen. Yeah, so you're able to see my screen?
Yep, we can. Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. So sorry, not JetBrains, and go to IDEA, and you'll be able to download the edition here. So I'm not assuming anything that you already know. So I'm assuming we'll not know anything about IntelliJ IDEA, and from that level I will get started. Once you install IntelliJ IDEA, I use it through the toolbox, and I am opening the IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. So all the shortcuts and the key combinations that I'm going to cover today, it's all from the Community Edition. So first tip is there is an option called Learn IntelliJ IDEA in the opening screen. Have you tried that? I would strongly recommend you to try that. So once you click that Learn IntelliJ IDEA, you will have the the shortcuts available for you to try it out. For example, the one of the first tip is using this Command Shift A, right? So which opens the actions. Uh, so and once you do this, then you're done with this particular keystroke, and then you go to the next lesson. Now Control G to search for it, right? And for the next symbol, and you just follow the learning steps as instructed here, and you'll be able to learn a lot of shortcuts. So that is how I started learning, and it's I mean, of course, I also started programming concurrently. So it was fun to learn this way. So let us start a new project. So I am using JDK 15. You don't have to use JDK 15 as such. You can use any of the older versions, but I would recommend at least 11, so that we can use the recent features as much as possible. And if I haven't downloaded the latest JDK, you can download the JDK, or if you have already downloaded, you can add the JDK, right? Okay, so before I go further, I will have a quick check. How many of you have been using IntelliJ IDEA for last 6 months? So last 6 months, last 3 years, and last 10 years. Okay, so last 6 months. That is relatively new to IntelliJ IDEA. How many of you? Okay. Okay, yeah, great. So there's a mixed, participation here, which is good. There is something to take away for everyone in this session. So I am going to start with a simple Java application, and let me see if I can increase the brightness so all of you can see more clearly. Okay, now I'm creating project from the template and give a name and start a project, right? So again, another a quick poll. How many of you are coding with me? Start planning to code with me today? Only 4 of you. Guys, come on. It can be more fun to learn, coding by trying it out. So
Yeah, I think there are many more who are just interested. Yes. Should be fun.
okay, great. So yeah, so please code with me. Okay. So let us start with our first one. So let's say hello, right? And when we before we go ahead, first thing I would like to show is that no matter how experienced you are, there's always something new to learn in IntelliJ IDEA. So why I'm saying that, if you say shift command space, you will get the emojis. So
Awesome.
let's
Okay. So,
I
by
don't
the
know how
way,
many of you
yeah,
have that.
yeah. So, Ganesh, I think what I just interrupt you. So, everybody who is joined on the call, I have given permissions to unmute yourself to get it more interactive. Okay. So, just make sure there's no background noise and you can interact and do the coding with Ganesh here. So, yeah. Go ahead, Ganesh.
Yeah. So before I go ahead, right, what is the shortcuts that I am using here, right? That will be often a question, especially because I am using Mac and many of you may be using Linux or Windows. So for that, I'm going to show another shortcut and show what is that uh, uh, you know the presentation assistant that I am using. As you can see here, these are the shortcuts that you can use. So let me hide this. All right. So now we are good. So let me go to um, okay, okay. Let's play with the first one. So command semicolon will give you the project structure, right? You can change things here, and command comma will help you get the preferences. So from the preferences, search for plugins, right? And in the plugins, I have installed something known as Presentation Assistant. So this is what I am using to show what are the keystrokes that I am trying for this session. And I will also strongly recommend this one, which is Key Promoter X, which is when you use a mouse, when you use mouse, instead of actually trying to, uh, you know, uh, do it manually, you will get a prompt saying that you could perhaps use this shortcut, right? That's something very useful, right? Okay, so let me, delete this and start again. Control command space will get you the emoji, and let's start with an emoji, a happy emoji. It's a weekend, so let's introduce a local variable. There are various ways to introduce a local variable, right? So this is one way to introduce it. To do alt enter, which is another simple shortcut, alt enter, and you'll be able to introduce a local variable, right? So hello, and let's say hello dot sout. I know many of you may be complaining now. You are starting so simple, so easy. We have been using IntelliJ for 7 years or 5 years, right? So please bear with me. I will get to advanced shortcuts as we go along. And I am sure there will be something that you will learn even in the shortcuts that the essential shortcuts that everyone can use in the day-to-day basis, right? And Control R, and you'll be able to run the program. Right.
Okay.
So before you go further, I don't know how many of you use, go to the key map reference. So in the key map reference, you'll be able to get the key map for the Windows and Linux and Mac. So in my case, I have taken the printout of this and I have stuck it in my window so that when I could refresh some of the shortcuts, and no one knows everything, right? So everyone is a learner, and this is something very useful. And especially for this session, I would recommend you to download this key map and keep it ready so that you can try out these shortcuts. All right. Now, how do I delete these two lines? So I can do extend selection. So I'm doing option up arrow and I'm expanding the selection. And if you want to remove only one line, for example, I can contract the selection. I want to remove only the one VAR, I can shrink it to var and I can delete it, right? So try out that extend and shrink selection and let's delete it, right? And how do I introduce a new line now, right? I can go to the end here and do an enter, right? Another way to do that will be shift command enter and you will be able to open a new line, right? And now let's say hello world, but in this case now we are going to say it in functional style, which is lambdas. So I'm going to say lambda, right? And now we have got a lambda, and how are we going to introduce the variable, right? I'm going to say dot var. And so now the IntelliJ is asking us, do you want the variable for hello world or do you want the variable for the expression, lambda expression, right? So I want it for the whole expression. And so I'm able to introduce the variable here. And now this is hello world lambda, right? And I do enter. And now how do you start a new line? I'm doing undo again. One way is to do enter, simple enter. Another way is to do shift enter, which will start a new line. And different depending on the scenarios, this start new line shortcut may be much more useful for you, right? Especially you were somewhere in the in between, right? You don't have to go to the end and then type enter. Rather, wherever you are, right? So let's say in the beginning also, you can just do okay, shift enter, and you will be able to get to the new line, right? Now, hello. Now, how do we get hello world lambda? Here from the context help, I'm getting h and hello world lambda, right? But in many contexts, you will get many options here. So you can use camel case for selecting the variable, right? H, W, L. And you can see that the letters H, W, L are highlighted as I type it, right? So you'll be able to select it much more easily, especially when there are a lot of options here to select from. And do this and say dot and get dot and s out e. And now run it again. And this will be a functional way to, I mean, this is not really functional programming, just trying out the postfix templates. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain you what are postfix templates. Postfix templates are expressions, something like, for example, 0, and I can do dot. No, not okay. So hello world lambda dot, and I can do any of this, and these are postfix templates, and these are quite powerful as well. And we will revisit this postfix templates a bit later, right? All right. So let's delete this, and let's create some command line arguments. I'm going to the configuration and let's give some arguments like hello world Mumbai Jug, just to play with this, right? Okay. So one of the things that you can do is introduce the fields by typing the templates, right? So for example, if I want a field, I can say public static final, and I can give the variable name, some const equal to whatever, hello, right? And this is not proper because um, uh, it's not proper because I missed the string here. So I can type just st, not the string, to get my string in place, right? Or what I can do is I can do PSFS, which is public static final string, and give the variable name. So let's say pi equal to, right, whatever the value. Okay, this is not the value of pi, but this is just to give an example of what the value is. I mean, what a constant is that you can use with PSFS. So the shortcuts that you need to try are PSF, then PSFI for public static final integer, and so on, right? Now, I want to delete this line. How do I delete this line? One way is to go select the whole line and then do delete, right? A faster way is to do command delete. Control Y in Windows, and you'll be able to delete the line. Now, as when I was deleting the line, I observed that I have unused import here, right? So I can do Alt Enter, and I can optimize the import, right? Another way to optimize the import is Control Alt O in Windows, and you'll be able to optimize the unused imports, right? Yet another way, a more effective way to optimize imports is to enable optimize imports on the fly. So I'm selecting here, and now from next time onwards, so imports, I can go here and I have already enabled it, so you can optimize the imports on the fly. So let us try out, if the optimize import work. So let us say chrono unit. I have imported chrono unit, and you can see that IntelliJ has already automatically imported it, right? Now I want to type CU, chrono unit, right? I can type that, or I can get help from IntelliJ to do that. So control space, which will be a basic code completion, equal to, what is it I want to do? Chrono unit dot centuries, right? So now I have imported the chrono unit. Let's say, let me delete this line. Now you can see that the import statement automatically went away. This is the effect of auto, remove the unutilized imports, right? So lot of times you would like to learn the shortcuts, but will not be able to remember it or whatever, right? So what you can do is, there's one single shortcut that you learn which is extremely easy to remember, which is shift, double shift. And if you do double shift, it will open up this everything, search everything, which includes the search for the classes, files, symbols, and actions. For example, let us say I want to know the shortcut for let's say join lines, right? I just type join, and I come to know that it is Control Shift J, right? So now I can do Control Shift J and see if it works, right? So I can do auto formatting, reformatting. For example, in this case, it is not formatted according to the Java conventions, right? So I can do auto reformat code and stick to all the styling requirements that I have. Now, I am here in this editor window. I want to go to the project window, right? So the bad way to do that is to use mouse or your trackpad and go here, right? The faster way to do that is Command 1, and I'll be able to go to the project window. Now let's say I am done with my whatever that I wanted to do with the project window. I am selecting the child node. I want to see whatever that I wanted to see, and I want to come back to my editor. So what do? I just press escape, and I'm back to my editor window, right? So command 1 to go to project, escape to come back. Now command 2 is for favorites. So I can, for example, have bookmarks and favorites actually in the favorites. So I can bookmark something, and then I can use it later. Okay. So I can add to favorites and it will appear. This will be my main function. So I can anytime when I want, I can come back to it. So I'll press a command 2 and I can come to my favorites and will be able to get that back again. Now,
Good.
how
So
do
you
I
can.
close this?
So
Yeah,
sorry, Ganesh. I think so. This is pretty cool, right? So when you're debugging or you want to navigate between predefined set of functions in the debug, you can create such shortcuts and then quickly navigate.
yes, yes, yes. So I'm actually going without checking with you. Any questions here? Some of you are saying I'm not able to hear. So am I audible?
Yeah, you are completely audible. We are able to hear you.
Okay, okay, okay. So uh, let's any questions here? Shall I continue?
Yeah, yeah,
We have just
continue.
barely started our
Cool,
session.
cool.
So Ganesh, one thing, right? When you're explaining these shortcuts and feature, right? Can you please, if some features are not available in community or some not in professional, right? Can you please tell that as well? Because in my team, right, I have professional, but not all the junior developer have professional. So some people use a community edition still.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So I am using the community edition. I do have professional
Oh, you're in
edition
community
because
only.
yeah, I'm in community only. So everything what I'm covering in this session is community. And by default, all this
Okay,
whatever
okay,
is
got it.
available in professional as well.
Yeah, that works. Okay, thanks.
Okay, great, great. So let us do some more things with command keyword. So sorry, command key.
Ganesh,
Yeah, yeah.
is there any delta in professional edition that you don't have in community? Is there any such kind of differences?
Of course, of course. There's quite a lot of difference between the professional and community editions, but it is not to do with the editing features and things like that. The main difference comes in the support for the profiling tools, the frameworks, languages, etc., plugins. So if you go to this detailed compare editions, you will see that what are the difference between these two. But the editing part as such is concerned, except for few things, almost everything is same. So whatever we are covering in this session is completely useful for everyone, no matter if you use community or professional. So I am sharing the link as well, just in case you don't have that.
So one thing is that if you guys use Spring, right, just like STS has a lot of Spring inbuilt features, so professional edition supports Spring development in a much better way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the main difference is in support for these languages, different languages like JavaScript, TypeScript, SQL, etc., and the frameworks, etc. So not really in the editing features or navigation, editing,
Yeah.
refactoring. All those features there is no difference.
And mainly in on J2E side as well. For example, professional has all option to add servers like Tomcat, VAS and all. In community, you can't add servers. You need to do all the customization to run a script or something.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So very quick ones. How do we close a window? So I could say Command W. Let me close this. And go back. So Command W, which is Alt 2 in Windows, and you'll be able to close a window, right? Right. Going back here and closing the windows. So, okay, wait a minute. W, yeah. So Control F4 in Windows for closing the window, right? So let me come back again and see what are the recent ones I have edited. That is Command E, and I'll be able to see what are the recent ones. I have only one file here. It's not very useful, but you have the recent ones that you're accessing here, for example, terminal and things like that. I recently accessed favorites, if you remember. Before that, I used run, and before that, we had an error. So this is how it is, showing uh, the, the recent ones what I have accessed. Okay, all right. Now let's come back and start with some very basic coding things. Let us say I have hello, and I want to introduce a variable, right? There are different ways to introduce a variable. One we saw was alt enter, another one was dot var, right? Now let's complete this semicolon with a semicolon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a refactoring shortcut for introducing a variable, which is Control Alt V for Windows, right? This is pretty cool because anywhere you are there, you'll be able to introduce a variable quickly, right? So and enter here, and you'll be able to use that variable. Now I want to comment this out. What I can do is command slash, and you'll be able to do the and if I'm already in a comment, and if I do it again, it will go away, right? And if I do the shift command slash, I'll be able to introduce a block comment. But as you can see here, I didn't select anything, right? So what I have to do is I have to use my old shortcut, which is extend selection, and I have selected what are the parts that I need to comment. So I could introduce now the block comment much more easily, and I can remove it as well, right? So okay, now let us see how do we expand this code and collapse this, right? Command plus is already expanded. Command minus, it will collapse, right? So try this out. And I may be copying, pasting many things, right? So for example, I could say split something, right? Now I have copied this. Now I want to, I want to paste. I have currently copied this hello split, but what I want to do is I want to paste this hello, right? Then what I have to do is shift command V, and I'll be able to see all my copies from the history, right? I think before the session, I copied the live link, which is coming from the clipboard. So try it out. This is quite useful as well for productivity, right? I'll be able to select from the history of my copies. Okay, how do I duplicate a line? So here I actually copied it manually, right? So I have to do, if I do this normal copy, I have to do command C and then go to the next line and command V, which is a very lazy way of doing it, right? The more faster way is to just to command D, and you'll be able to duplicate the line. Now I want to copy the current line. How do you do that? So that is command X, and I have copied the cut the current line, and I have pasted it, right? So I hope you are trying along with me, right? Now let us write a small program, right? Before we proceed further, I want to read an input from the command line. So let's say I want to scan. You do the scanner, right? Now I type SC, and I was able to get the scanner, right? Now I want to type scanner. So what I do is control space, and I'm letting the IntelliJ to complete the variable name equal to, and I want to say automatically introduce the new, right? So new and scanner. So what I did was I did smart completion, right? So from here I did a completion, code completion, created new, and then automatically create the variable name, sorry, the type, the constructor call, right? Using shift control space, and I'm giving system dot in, right? Now I want to introduce a new line, so I don't have to go to the end and do the new line. As usual, I already discussed. So shift enter, I come to the new line. Now scanner dot next int, so NI, and I'll be able to get my next int. Now code completion. Now there's a problem in this code, right? This works. It is able to read the input from the console, and okay, let's print it. How to introduce a variable? You already know that, right? So introduce the variable and call it as next int, right? So let's go to the next line and say next int dot sout, the formatted one, let's say, like so percentage t, and let's print this and 20, right? Now coming back here, let's say instead of printf, I want println. Now if you type after this dot, right, I can get println, but if I press enter here, I will have both printf and println, right, which is ineffective. So what I rather want is I want to replace the printf with println. So I want to say println, I want to replace it. So press tab and you'll be able to replace it, right? So I'm deleting this and I'm running this. So printing, selecting a tab after the dot will replace the current expression. If you type the normal enter select, then it will add to it, which will often result in compiler errors, right? Which is not what we desire. Okay, so using tab is very simple, but it can save your time. Now let us get into one more one. Let's say instead of 10, because I'm not giving anything to prompt the user to type whatever it is, right? So let us say the user types something, blah blah blah, and now we got an exception. So we have to protect this code with an exception handler, right? So I am expanding the selection. Sorry, I'm expanding the selection, and I am surrounding the code. So
Surrounding it with try-catch, right?
yeah. Strange, is there some error?
It's wrong. I think this is the wrong shortcut.
Okay.
Try-catch with try-catch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm selecting the block and I'm surrounding it with, this is surround with a template. So you can see the numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So I can either manually go till 8, or when I started here, I can just press 8 and I'll be able to surround with try catch. Right? So try this out. And let's see something. And okay, I'm just still getting this stack trace, but that is a different problem, right? So this is a much better scenario, right? I can give an error message saying that type an integer, right? So that is surround with. So surround with can actually save a lot of effort for you, right? For example, let us take this. Let us actually select this code, and let's deal with our args now, right? Now args. So I want to process my args. Now, how do I process my args? So I can say itco, which is iterate collection. And what is the collection that I have here? It's args. And is args iterable? No. So I need to do a little more thing, which is stream and get the sequential stream from there, get the iterator, and go to the arg, and I want to print the arg. And let's run this program, and we should be able to see the command line arguments that we have given, right? So these are iteration templates that you have. So how do you find out the iteration templates? Do a double shift and type ITCO or whatever the live templates that you have, right? So first option that you have. So click there and you'll be able to see all the iteration templates. Sorry, this is not Groovy and this is Java, and you can see the iteration templates. So for iterate the collection, enumeration, etc. Right? Now we have an array, which is an args, right? So let us do iter here. So let us select this whole thing and get rid of it. And let's create a new line and iter, which is args. You can see args was automatically filled by the context from the IntelliJ. So arg is already filled. Now I can say arg dot chars, and for each I want to print the chars. So let's run this, and I could see the characters that is getting printed. But unfortunately, I am not getting the chars that I wanted because it is printing the ASCII value of the characters. So what do? So I select my println and I get my char, and for that char I do format it with a %C and print it with print that, right? Now let's try. This should print the chars, right? So we learned our second template. If you are not already aware of it, and there are many other templates that you can try out. For example, let's say I want to iterate reverse in a reverse order. So I can say ritar, right? Okay, I got my formatting screwed up, but no problem because I already know my shortcut to reformat the code. But okay, it's in the control. That's why it's not be able to do that. Now let's complete this. So in my reverse order, I want to traverse it, right? Get the arg, and let's say arg dot s out, right? And now let us reformat the code. You'll be able to reformat it, right? Okay. So that is the next one, the reverse iteration. And another simple one is to iterate on the array by just typing I. Just type I and you'll be able to iterate on the array. Now, what is an array that you want to create? Okay, let's say I want to iterate on all the methods. Method in what? Object dot class dot get methods, and method dot sout. So we got all the methods, and let's say instead of printing the method, I want to print the method name, right? So and its length. So all of this I don't have to remember how to do that. I have to just do dot and I'll be able to do that. That's the power of postfix templates, right? So now let me select this again and get rid of that. And many of you may not be still convinced about the power of the live templates, right? Now, how many times you have tried tokenizing things, right? For example, IT-Tok is a tokenizer, what we have in the code for tokenizing a given string. So I have a string tokenizer, and what I want to tokenize, let's say I have a, just a line. I want to have a line which I want to tokenize. What did I do? Okay. Okay, so I'm done with here and yes dot s out. Right now, coming back here, I do alt enter and I can create a local variable because an error, right? I can create a line, and what is my line? So welcome to this IntelliJ idea session, blah blah blah, right? And now let's run this program, and we have done tokenization of a given string. So here I'm not able to remove the files just by reformatting because IntelliJ thinks that I'm done it purposefully, right? So I know how to how to remove the new lines, which is command delete, and we are all good, right? Now let's publish this as a gist, right? So what's a gist? Gist is a code that you can publish in Git repo. Go to shift and say gist. Create a gist and give a description. My first example of IT-Tok in IntelliJ IDEA, and say okay, and yeah, here you have the gist published in my GitHub account. So I'll just share it here, so that if you want, you can try it out. So any of the things that you try out, right? You want to share it in the public. It's very straightforward. You'll be able to publish it as a gist. Okay. So any questions so far?
So, Ganesh, I have one question. Can we create, for a project, can we define a set of new rules or new shortcuts just for that project,
Uh,
or the template?
okay, that's a good question. I have tried shortcuts and templates, but that's applicable for my IntelliJ IDEA, not just for a particular project.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, the answer is I don't know, Jitin. I haven't tried that.
Okay. Okay. No problem. That's fine. But this is amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
So
Ganesh, I have one question. Like those who are new to IntelliJ IDEA and moving from either Eclipse or NetBeans, right? So I know the IntelliJ IDEA supports Keymap, right? They can switch to Eclipse Keymap, right? So is it like recommended, and does it support all the Eclipse shortcuts or not, right?
so okay, there are two parts to this question. So first is to make sure everybody is on the same page. You can have Eclipse shortcuts in IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, so if you're not already familiar with it, and if you're from Eclipse background, you can use the Eclipse shortcuts in IntelliJ IDEA. Now, the question is, is all the shortcuts available and is it recommended? So the answer is, I don't think all the shortcuts are supported. And the second thing is, I would not recommend doing using Eclipse shortcuts in IntelliJ IDEA. The reason is the shortcuts in IntelliJ IDEA are much more what you call intuitive. Let me give an example. Okay, so let me give an example of advanced examples of refactoring. Okay, but the ideas are very simple. So let's say you want to do refactoring, right? Now, some of the essential refactorings are move refactoring, rename refactoring, change signature, right? What is interesting about the IntelliJ shortcuts is you need to remember only one thing to do all of this. You have to just type F6 or move, and for rename, you have to do Shift plus F6, and for change signature, I need to do Command plus F6. Right. So this is quite powerful because remembering the shortcuts is actually quite intensive, right? And unless you keep practicing it, it becomes tend to forget it, right? So the better idea is remember as little as possible. So for me, F6 becomes something easy to remember. I can do F6 and I can play around with option, control, and command, and I'll be able to figure out doing renaming or change signature, etc. Another example, I'm just giving one specific example so that the shortcuts power will become evident, right? So in refactoring, you have extract, right? You have complex methods, which is a very common example, right? When you want to simplify a complex method, what are the things you do? You extract other methods from it. You extract other variables. You extract constants. Sometimes you extract fields, and sometimes you extract parameters. Right? This is what we do when we extract from a complex method, right? Now, how do I remember the shortcut? It's actually easy. Command plus, option in Mac, yum for method. Now, I don't have to remember all of this. Yum for method, B for variable, C for constant, F for field, and P for parameter. So if I remember this option, which is command option, I'll be able to extract methods, fields, constants, parameters, because I know if I want to extract a method, it's M. If it's a variable, V. It's a constant, means C. Field is F, and parameter is P. right? So what I'm saying is that in my experience working with IntelliJ IDEA, I mean, it may be a little overwhelming to see the whole key map, but once you try using it, right, that is a ergonomics to this, naming of the shortcuts, which is not evident in the first go. So my recommendation is learn IntelliJ IDEA shortcuts. That way you'll be able to use the best of IntelliJ IDEA and not get mixed up with both in Eclipse and IntelliJ IDEA. Nishant, did I answer your question? Is it okay?
Yeah, it got it answered, and I know the trick as well, how to remember the subsets of
Okay,
shortcuts.
awesome. Okay, so okay, let's play around with some more things. So let me actually delete this whole thing, and let's try to create something from scratch. Okay, so I'm doing let's say class, let's say a location, right? Now in this location, I want to introduce constructor, right? And before I introduce the constructor, let me introduce the latitude and longitude. So latitude and longitude. So okay. Now let us introduce the constructors for the same. Now I don't not just this, I want default constructor as well. So in that case, I will not be selecting anything, select none. I'll be able to generate the default constructor. And I want getters and setters for both. And I want equals and hash code. And I can choose, the options. Should I consider subclassing, etc. And so on, right? So I can choose to override the methods, for example, the clone method, and I can create test methods and copyright statements. Yes, I want to configure a copyright. So I want to add a copyright. Let me go to and add a profile here, demo copyright, and create this. And did I set that as a default? No, I didn't set it as a default. So let me set it as the default copyright, apply and OK. And the copyright got added. Now let me try to create a Java doc for this. Location is for latitude and longitude. And let's create the Java doc for this. I'm not doing the whole thing. Okay. So add the Java doc, default, CTOR. Then, okay. So the next one, add the Java doc for the same, latitude, and then the longitude, and so on. I think you're getting the idea, right? So I can add the Java documents very easily. I can create the test cases relatively easily, and so on. So now I want to create the main method. So for the main method, I can choose two options, either PSVM or main. So let's say I type main, and I get this, and I want to create a new location object. So you know how to create the location object now. So create a new and create the location and 12 whatever this d comma dot e. But unfortunately, this location will not work fine because I haven't added the toString method. So that's fine. Let's see this first. What happens? So okay, I haven't. There's an error here. So okay, here it is. This is a public class. So I want to either change the file name or this class name, right? So I can rename the file. And I still have the error. What is happening here? Yeah, the package is not set. Okay, I want to reformat it. Okay, it didn't work fine. Okay, so now let us see if my running is fine. Oh, okay. The configuration, I have to set the configuration. Edit the configuration location. Save this and I'm able to run this, right? Now I haven't introduced the toString method, so I can, why I'm doing this later is because to show that in even the existing code you can do this to make it work. So I'm able to get a proper implementation of toString method. So this is quite effective because I will be able to write most of the code. I'll be able to generate most of the code, and I'll be able to write most of the code, mostly driving IntelliJ to complete my code, right? So this is a very useful thing, and I would request you to try this out. So to generate the code instead of writing it again and again, right? So now let's explore some of the postfix templates. So let me get this code. Okay, now this file has to be fixed. Okay, it's a file name. Name file. Yeah. Now let us try some postfix templates, right? So try out some postfix templates, like for example lambda, right? So postfix template. Yeah. So you can see the postfix templates, what and all you can use, right? And this is something can increase your productivity like crazy. So we have seen some templates. So the templates are of different kinds. One is the normal templates or surround templates, and then you have postfix templates, right? We have seen the surround templates in the context of try catch, etc. And we have seen normal templates in the form of for each, for I, etc. And then there are many interesting postfix templates, right? So how do we know the postfix templates? We can discover it, right? So for example, you can say args dot, right, and go to the end. So how do you go to the end? Place the up arrow and you'll be able to go to the end. Now we can say try, right? Now for example, you can say args of 0, which will end up in a exception, right? So arg dot sout. Now let us, oh, did I put the command line arguments? I don't remember. Let's see. Okay, I changed my configuration. I'm sorry. I'll put this back again. Yep. So yeah, so I think I have passed it. So let us access something that is not there. And you can see that the exception handling got invoked, right? So I did that through this postfix templates, right? So you can try out more postfix templates on your own. For example, args dot, the first one is our try, and we can do synchronized, not null check before accessing it, right? I mean, args, I'm not, okay, let's say for each, right? I can get a for each loop from the postfix template, right? From the variable, I can write the code. That is the difference, right? Instead of typing the code from for I equal to something, right? We are driving the code from the variable name, which is how we think about programming. So this is quite powerful. So if you want to check for not null, so you can say not null, right? And you can do the code here. So the ones that you need to try, for example, are, let's say you have hello, and let's say you want to do switch of that, right? I mean, of course, it doesn't make sense to have a switch for hello. We will have it as a variable, right? Now introduce a variable, yeah, string, and then string dot switch. How are we switching on this string? So we have the case statement, and if it happens to be hello, let's return true. And in case it is world, then let us return false, right? Okay, so I have to have the return statement. Give me a minute. What is the variable? The Boolean val. So I have the Boolean value as the result, and we have the default match branch missing, and now we are good, right? So I can say bool val dot sout p, and I'll be able to run this program. So the difference is I am not writing the switch from scratch, right? I mean, the way I'm programming is different, right? So the way typical way we program is we do with switch and then give the variable string that actually delays the progress. For example, I have to do like this and then case, whatever the case, right? So that is actually slower. But when I say string dot switch, it's relatively faster to drive your program. You can drive the program anyway, the way you want to done. For example, if we want to have string dot not null, right? This is faster than typing if string is not equal to null and then open the bracket. This is slower compared to saying string dot not null. I hope you're getting the point, right? It's not world changing, but it improves the productivity of your the speed with which you can program, right? So let us see an example where you can code with me and see how it goes. Let us create a let's use the surround template now and write a program, right? So I want to say an executor service. Let me fill it with an executor service equal to executors dot a single thread executor. Let me an executor and then executor service dot submit. What do you want to submit? Some callable, right? Okay, let me complete that semicolon. And then I have a variable here. So let me fill a variable with a future and future dot get, and I want to say yes out. Right now I go to the callable and say create a local variable called runnable. And what does the runnable do? So I want to fill it, and I want to fill it with a lambda. And what do I return? A future, and let me fill it with yes out. Okay, hello. And I have an error here. And what is the error? I want to surround with a try catch block because it can fail. Now let's run this program. Right? So, okay, I mean, this is not the proper way to do callable, but I think you get an idea, right? How you can drive writing the program, right? So you can look at how fast we are able to write the program by doing like this, right? By trying to drive the program through the shortcuts than typing it from scratch. Okay, so any questions? So can any of you try this program and share yours? And the next steps, what we're going to do is, we are going to do some refactoring, some simple ones and also advanced ones. Any questions? Okay, let me ask a question. So how many of you were able to try at least 5 new shortcuts we haven't tried before?
I tried shift.
Yes.
Okay, okay, great.
I try more than 5.
Okay, hey Nishant.
Thanks a lot for this.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
This will amazingly help. I think this is food for thought over the weekend to get handle on the shortcuts, and then amazing productivity tool for overall delivery of the software. Yeah, I think for me where I see the advantage is I can focus more on design of the software, of how I'm constructing it, rather than focusing on the syntactical things. This helps a lot.
Awesome. So any questions, team, before we go ahead with the refactoring and other techniques?
Ganesh, can we import multiple project within a single Windows? Like, I know it's not related to shortcut, but just a question.
No, as far as I know, you can't do, but
Okay.
you never know.
Okay.
There are too many things to know in IntelliJ IDEA. That's what I know after a few years.
Right. Right. I know we are able to import Maven project, but like these normal Java project, I'm not aware. So if anyone aware,
I don't know.
like
Maybe.
within a single window, right?
I've actually done this in Android Studio, which is also IntelliJ based. So I'm pretty sure it has that support.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it will come below that project as another project. You need to
Mhm.
switch the tab to projects and see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It has the support for it for sure. You have to check it.
Okay, so shall we continue?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go back here and share my screen. So this is largely a hands-on session, but I have already created some material which which is more easier to present as a presentation, and still you can actually try out hands-on, right? So I'm also trying to summarize things and focus on refactoring, which is an advanced feature, and you'll be able to use it well. The primitives of refactoring may be very simple. For example, extracting a variable, extracting a method, that could be very straightforward thing to do. But the composite refactorings that you can do, that is what makes it very powerful. For example, let's say you have a very large code base, right? And you want to improve the code by removing smells, right? So how do I identify the smells? How do we do the refactoring? Most of it is automated, right? That's what I wanted to focus. And before we go into that, I am actually covering the automated aspects as well. For example, how do we automatically remove the unused imports and etc., right? So for example, many of the things what you see in the code is misleading. Like for example, here this http colon google.com, right? That's actually, yeah, if you observe it carefully, it is in italics, which means that it's an unused code. So what has happened is that's actually an unused code, right? So this yellow bulb is very useful because I can do actions based on that. I can do alt enter and I can remove that, right? So we can already saw how to the remove the unused imports. You can remove them on the fly, or you can do option command, I'm sorry, control option O for removing the unused imports, right? And you can do auto reformat. So control option L for reformatting it automatically. Like this is a case of a messy code where you can see that it's automatically reformatted properly, right? So you can actually generate the code to improve the existing code. For example, to add exception safety by adding the try catch blocks, or you can add to the exception signature, sorry, method signature. This example you already seen, and we can actually rename variables. For example, let us say we have list of stocks and I want to rename it. So shift F6. I think I briefly mentioned about these shortcuts. To rename is to do shift F6, and move is to F6. And to change the signature of a method is to do command F6. So the advantage of doing the renaming in the IntelliJ IDEA, instead of doing it manually, right, using Control F and Control R, right? Sorry, depends on the Windows or Mac. So if you're doing replace with let's say Command R in Mac, then the problem is it may replace it in the comments or anywhere else, right? But if I'm replacing or renaming only a variable, a local variable, then the impact should be localized, right? So that automatic update and safety is assured when you do it through the IDE. So we can move classes, move methods, etc. So you do this by doing F6. For example, each class should belong in its own file. So you can either do alt enter and move it, or actually you can do F6 and move it.
Hey, is that option key select available in Windows as well?
Actually, option translate to alt in Windows. That's what I remember.
Is it no? No. For example, can you see that new stock, right? Can you
Yeah.
like option select only the strings inside vertical select
Yeah, you can do that. So
in Windows too?
okay, I have never tried in Windows, but I have tried it in Mac for sure. So let us say I want to do. You were talking about this vertical select, right?
Yeah. That's very helpful.
Very
Working with
comfortable. Yeah.
we're working with arrays and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, where is that option to vertical select?
Someone asked in the chat whether it's there for Windows. That's why. Surgia, right? Yeah.
Column selection mode. Yeah,
Column selection
this
mode.
is what you are talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is quite powerful.
It is powerful. You can copy paste it and you can but yeah, Surji asked whether it's there in Windows. Okay, I think
Any
it's
of
best
you
to
know
check the
that? Have any of
documentation.
you tried it? So this is here. So in edit, column selection mode. Can you see what is the shortcut and if it is the option is there? Guys, did any of you try column selection mode in Windows and confirm if it is there in Windows?
Yes, it's Alt Shift Insert.
Alt Shift Insert. Okay. Cool.
Alt Shift. Let's insert. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
So another question, Ganesh, is is there shortcuts to create notebooks like Jupyter notebooks for the Java thing, or?
There is actually a new product called Data Lore. That is what I'm familiar with, not with Java.
I see. Yeah, because I tried that with the PyCharm, but I don't know if that Java thing can create.
This is a new product. This is a free one. Maybe you can give it a try. So, the JetBrains is coming up with a new product for data science. PyCharm for data science. I don't know the exact name of that product, which will be coming out very soon.
Yeah, because I
It is
see that.
beta
Yeah,
now.
because I see that for Java community, if we have this concept of notebook, it will be pretty awesome. People can do coding as well as the text around it, and then prepare notebooks. So yeah.
Yeah, but I do not know if it is there. I'm not a data scientist and I do not know. But this is a new product. Maybe you guys can check it out if you're interested. This is free as well. And then there is a PyCharm for data science coming up.
There's already a plugin for that, no? Like I think a Python plugin within IntelliJ.
But this one is a standalone version. Like you have three versions for PyCharm now, which is PyCharm, community version, ultimate or professional edition, and you have ADE version, right? Now the fourth one is coming out, which is for data science.
Okay, cool.
It's not released yet, but there was a customer who did a beta, and they were very happy with that. So I will share the link for the data lore. So guys, you can check it out.
Ganesh, do you know if Data Lore is going to be a standalone desktop application or it's going to be on the cloud?
As far as I know, it's going to be on the cloud.
Okay.
But for data science, the desktop version will be the new PyCharm edition, meant for data scientists.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So let me continue with this. How do we do refactoring, right? So this is move method refactoring and move class refactoring. So So okay, so maybe I will show it in action instead of the presentation. Let us say I want to extract this into a still column selection mode. Yeah. Okay. So let us actually extract this into a method, right? So what I do is opt command M, and I'll be able to extract this. So execute as a callable. Execute as, okay, very bad name, but now I want to pass this callable as an argument, right? I extracted this and I want to pass this an argument. Now I am selecting this callable one, and so this became an argument, right? And now let me delete this, and now let me rename this and call this as callable, right? And now there's a callable here, and I want to introduce a local variable. And this one, it is a lambda, and so something. Okay, I think this is fine. And now I'm just demonstrating random code. Okay, how do we extract methods? How do we extract parameters? And how do we extract two fields? So fields, execute a service. Yeah, I got as a field now, and let me extract variables. So this is a constant. Okay, let me first introduce a variable. So this is constant, and this could be a constant, right? So this is a constant and something. No typo, because it's something is not the proper spelling, and the same way here and something, right? So in this one single example, we have seen primary refactorings that we can do, which is extract variables, methods, constants, fields, and parameters, right? And there are many more actually. So some of the advanced ones, let me show. I think let's wait for some more time. I will show some of the advanced refactorings, and this one is simplifying the code. For example, here we have the runnable, right? And this is a world style, and you don't need that, and it can be replaced with a lambda. So you can just replace with the lambda, which is much more shorter and convenient, right? And you can extract constants, fields, and methods, which you already seen. Then you can surround with try-catch blocks. You can merge try-catch blocks. You can extract method references. Okay, let me pause here. We have a words by size, which is a map. So you want to traverse the map and get the values and print it. So is it the correct way to do it, or is it the most effective way to do it? This code, that's the same. So you have a map of words, by its size. So you traverse to the entry set. For each entry, you get the key for the corresponding entry, right? Get the key and the value, and you print it. Is it the right way to do it? And how many times you do that? Do a lot of time, right? Now this is extracting to a method reference. This is not a proper refactoring. This is actually like a like a paint bomb, which is not fixing the original problem, right? It still has the same problem. So a better way is to traverse the whole map itself, and you can do alt enter and replace it map.forEach, and for each entry and the value, for each key and value, you traverse over it, right? That way it's quite powerful. So there are data clumps in code. For example, this is a constructor which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parameters, right? And so this is a smell known as a data clump smell or large constructor parameter list smell, right? And there are 3 refactorings possible for the scenario. The first refactoring is to identify the data clump, the things that belong together. For example, the country, state, city, and place, there's a location that we're talking about. So it could be extracted into a separate abstraction. And this is a pollutant data. So the average value, the max value, the min value, and the pollutant value could be extracted into a pollutant value as an abstraction, right? So you select all of that. So this is the whole thing, and you select the entries that you want to extract it, and you can do Control T, right? And you can create it as a parameter object. So you choose what are the arguments that has to be extracted into a parameter object. So we got replaced it with the location, and if you go to the location, you can see that this has become a proper class implementation. Now, if you go back to the pollutant entry, you could see that this is another example of a parameter object refactoring. So you can extract this into a parameter object. Now, many of you may have observed that this is only a partial refactoring. This doesn't fix the original problem, right? Because if you have this many parameters, still this is actually a large number of parameters. So another proper refactoring is to introduce something known as build pattern. So builder pattern. So if you use a builder pattern, then the object creation becomes much more effective, and the responsibility of creating the complex object moves to that abstraction itself, right? So let us see that. This is the large constructor parameter list smell. So that is the first way to refactor it. So this is the second way to refactor, which is through, what am I doing? Yeah, replace the large parameter list with builder pattern. So what builder pattern does is, let's say you have some 7 or 8 parameters, right? And let's say there is no cohesive data clumps there. In that scenario, what you can do is you can give named parameters and move that responsibility of creating that complex object by giving named methods, right? So let us say we have a device class, and these are the parameters that we have. And if we create a constructor, right, for which takes all the arguments, that's a smell, because more than 3 or 4 arguments, it's a bad idea to use it in the constructor parameter list, right? So the better alternative for that is to do the builder pattern. Actually, fortunately, IntelliJ IDEA does it very easily. What you have to do is Control T, and you could say that create a builder class for me. So let us see an example here, which shows this is a code that shows in action. So the problem is I need to remember, right? Otherwise, I have to do Command P to remember what are my arguments. This indicates that there's a smell. So there are other alternatives as well. For example, Lombok, right? So you can use that, or you can use a classic approach towards refactoring and use the builder pattern. And what is beautiful about IntelliJ IDEA is that it actually does most of it for you. You don't have to do anything. Just to do refactor, and both the call site and the builder pattern creation is taken care by IntelliJ IDEA. So this is the class that takes the responsibility of creating the object. And what is more interesting is the caller site also gets replaced with the call for the builder code. So yeah, here is a call site where you remember we had a new builder. It's a new device, and we're passing the arguments, and you can see that IntelliJ IDEA has replaced it with the calls to that. It's quite intelligent in that way. So there are other options available here. For example, you can replace constructor with the factory method and etc. Right? Sometimes actually you might want to actually inline the methods. For example, here you have the callable passed like this, right? So you can inline it, and you can see that it moved from that to here, right? So that's quite powerful. Abstract method, wait, yeah. So this is inlining, and you can do it for most of the things like this. So let's see if the inlining works. Yeah, and the executor service. Let's see if the inlining works. Okay, yeah, this is for the variables, not the field, right? So this is inlining approach. So inlining also is quite powerful. So what I suggest is try Control T and examine the options that you have, right? And you will see that it is quite very effective to use these options. For example, let's say you have this executor service, right? This is a temporary variable, right? So what I can do is Control T, and I can remove the middleman. Where is it option? I think I mixed it up. Just a minute. Okay, you can extract method object. Okay, so you can explore this a little bit more. So I will leave it to you to try out a few refactorings, and then we can continue further. There's also an option to actually move the replace that temp variable with the query. So somehow I missed it. It's here. So replace temp with query, and you'll be able to replace the temporary variables with a call to a query. So many of the refactorings that is covered in the classic refactoring book, right, by Martin Fowler. So many of them are automatically implemented in IntelliJ IDEA. So I request you to give it a try. This is inlining one, and the one we saw here is replace the temporary variable with the query. So I would request you to give it a try. So I'll pass here on any questions on refactoring. So I'm worried I'm lost most of you.
I think it's pretty. So I think Ganesh, the way you're going about it's quite granular details and really awesome. So I think people are more curious. Seems at least I'm more curious to explore this myself. In the day-to-day coding. So this is pretty neat. Very very productive session.
Okay, awesome.
So like they have builder pattern. Can we create something and have another pattern? So these patterns are specific for refactoring the code.
Okay, so
so let's say, for example, I'll give an example. So let's say if I have too many switch cases statement or if and else statement, and if I have to probably convert it into strategy pattern. So is there such more advanced patterns there, or there are very simple ones, right?
So okay, that's a very good example, right? Converting the switch case to a strategy, right? So there is no single refactoring that on a click that you can do refactoring to strategy. but there are primitive refactoring. So this is called as composite refactoring. The composite refactoring consists of primitive refactorings. So by combining those primitive refactorings, you achieve the end goal. In this case, for example, the switch case gets transformed into a dynamic dispatch, which is in the case of a command or a strategy, etc. Right? So that case, what will you do is you will convert the statement into a function and introduce a type hierarchy. So to give an example, I mean, I'm going to have a proper, worked out example. Let us say we have, let us take this code and delete this and focus on the specific example, right? What we're talking about. So let us say we have some code which does some action. So we already saw some example of the code which does some action. So if args, okay, right? And so hello dot result, right? So what I can do is I can make them as lambdas, convert them into lambdas, right? And then extract them, move them into the corresponding classes. So this is a primitive refactoring. So converting a statement to a lambda, for example, is a primitive refactoring, right? So by combining these, I'll be able to achieve the end result that is wanted. So I'm not sure if I answered your question fully. So not all the refactorings are possible to do automatically in an editor, not just IntelliJ IDEA. It is not possible at all, because that requires creating an, for example, in the case of strategy pattern, you have to create a type hierarchy and then move the code from the switch cases to the code there, right? That is not possible with IntelliJ IDEA or any other editor for that matter. So what you have to do is you have to break that down into small refactorings and do the existing refactorings and convert them. Okay, so I have another a puzzle sort of thing. So take for example prime numbers. So I've been slightly changing the discussion focus. We're discussing refactoring so far. So let's quickly discuss about some about functional programming as well. Though Java 8 is I think 5 years old, we still don't really often use the full power of functional programming, right? So let me give an example of a loop, right? So we have the for I loop, right? So for I equal to 0, I is less than whatever say 10. So I dot s out, right? Now what I can do is I can actually do and convert it into a for each, right? Which is functional in nature, right? And this is if you want to preserve the order, then I can say the order should be maintained. What I can do is do alt enter and replace it with a loop, and I can go back. So these transformations are quite interesting. I can replace it with a while loop, I can replace it with a do while loop, or I can, for example, do loop unrolling, right? For example, let me remove this, and let me have hello. So this makes the loop unrolling possible, and unroll the loop, right? So for performance reasons, don't recommend it to do. So there's quite a lot of features that you can explore by doing this, right? Now let us try out some functional programming stuff, right? Here is a prime number code. So what this prime number code does is it checks for is prime, and given a value, it traverses over a for loop. For I equal to 2, I is less than val divided by 2. Of course, you can put the square root of the value here. This is a less efficient one, but it's still correct. Val divided by 2 and I plus plus, and see if it is divisible by I. Let's say if it is 15, right? So from 2 to 7, I'll be traversing, and 2 and 3 mod 15 mod 3 is 0, so it's not a prime number, right? So the condition will fail, and so the prime number will not be counted, right? So what is this loop does? For 1 lakh numbers, I'm checking how many prime variables are there, and the final result is printed. Now the pass I'm giving here is how will you refactor into functional code. So this is a for loop which checks for the if condition if it is divisible by I till val divided by 2. Can you convert this into functional code in your mind?
Yeah.
What will be that?
So I'll start with the main function and change that for each. And instead of is prime, I would rather put is filter instead, and put the is prime code inside that filter. It would be much easier.
Yeah. So you have a long stream range 2 to 1 lakh.
Yeah.
And then filter, actually it is not, so we will be counting the primes, right? So, okay, you're saying filter there. Yeah, right, that's correct. So filter for each prime and then count,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And so we'll get the number of primes. So that is the correct conversion for this code. How will you convert this code, each prime code?
That's lambda.
That's a lambda. Yeah.
Make it as a lambda? You mean the same for loop and if condition?
Filter by lambda expression.
Filter by lambda expression. That's
Yeah.
partially correct.
You start with val, right? You val dot filter, and then you pass the inner if condition. Instead of the if condition, you pass the code alone. If val not so I is then it filters.
So okay, do you get this difficulty? It is not very straightforward to immediately come up with conversion to functional programming, right? But what if I say that you don't have to think about it most of the time, and just to alt enter and IntelliJ will suggest. Have you tried that?
Yeah, in Android I've done that.
Okay, so it's called replace with none match.
Okay.
That's quite impressive, I would say.
So it even added the range closed to.
Yeah, because it is less than or equal to, right?
Yeah.
And less than or equal to. I don't know. It's always confusing for me as well. Range doesn't include the end, and range close includes that, right?
Filter is prime, and then.
Can you show it again, Ganesh? Can you show it again?
Yeah. What you have to do is alt enter. I'm highlighting this to show, that's all. So replace it with none match.
So none match is also a kind of a filter function, basically.
Yeah, correct. I would say that is quite impressive, is it not?
Actually, I would go ahead and move this streams code into the main function, because unless if I'm using is prime again somewhere else, it doesn't make sense to have a separate function for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, what you have to do is to highlight is prime and say option command n so that it gets inlined.
Yeah.
Right. So in that case, yeah, it's just quite pretty cool. How most of the things are automated. It's harder to think sometimes. Right. So
Ganesh, I have one question.
Yeah.
How is IntelliJ transforming its refactoring with reference to proven frameworks like cloud patterns are coming. Spring also has got their own style of framework level.
So actually, I can answer this. If you look in the low level, it's called automata theory. They look for patterns based on the tokens, and if the token matches, it says that this refactoring was possible. So when you open the shortcut key, it basically shows you the options which are possible based on whether it matches that automata. So that's how internally IntelliJ does it.
To still higher level, like
higher level.
Can it help in in microservices, Saga pattern, sidecar?
Think of it as just it matches a pattern. That's it. It looks for variables, and if the variables come under this pattern, it says it can refactor to this. That's how.
I have created a YouTube channel which has, I think, around 40 tips and tricks for IntelliJ IDEA. covering simple ones to more difficult ones. Take a look at it here. And the next one is how do we try out more things, right? So as I already mentioned, one of the options is trying out the learn functionality. In fact, I would recommend EDU for that. So the EDU has when I say EDU, the IntelliJ educational version has tests. It has the training for the shortcuts, etc., which is quite very helpful. And there are demos and screencasts which are from IntelliJ, JetBrains itself. So you can go from here. So from here, from help, go to demos and screencasts. And tip of the day is I really love. So every time I open something, I will learn something new most of the times. So you can try out this tip of the day, and try to play with that, right? Then you could see what are the the shortcuts that you are using, that you can try it out. So and another thing is, as I mentioned in the beginning, I wrote a OCP 8 book, which is very popular. I think OCP 8 is still very relevant, and I would I'm not asking you to buy. I'm going to send it for free for you. So don't worry, I'm not going to sell anything to you. So what I want is send your email ID, and I will reply with the PDF of the Java 8 book, which has quite a bit of content. It's quite bulky, 500 pages.
So what does the OCP book have? It's for the certification program, right?
Yeah, it's a certification. Yeah. So the Java 8 certification is still available, and now the latest certification is Java 11. So it's not really
Ganesh,
outdated.
where do we send the email ID? Where do we send the email ID? The meetup group?
No, you can type here in the chat. I will collect everything, and I will send it to you. So I think I have more or less covered everything what was planned. And okay, let's end with creating something instead of just following something, right? So one thing I love in IntelliJ IDEA is this templates, right? For example, SOC, right? Let us see this templates. So these are the templates that we have, and I can actually add my own template. So let's try a live template. Okay, so I'm going to the live templates.
So Ganesh, just a question here. So if I have a community edition that is a freeware, everything is available there, or it's like okay.
I mean, so as I mentioned, no, in the community edition, only the support for frameworks and other languages and those things are not available. So this is the difference. So, but whatever we have covered so far, everything is available.
So POSIX template and everything are already there in this.
Yeah, of course, all these are there. So only for things like Spring, Hibernate, and
yeah,
NPM,
that's okay. I mean,
all this is not
basic one. We see most of the time we only need these basic ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sharing that link again. So let's create a template. Okay, so work with me. So it's very easy. It's very trivial to create a template. So let us create SOP template, right? So what I have to do is I have to do plus. Okay, let me do one by one. If you are in the editor, type shift. Type any live template like ITER, not ITER, ITCO. I did so I get into the live templates, right? Go to Java, select Java and plus and add a live template. The live template, let's say I want to print SOP. So a lot of us prefer SOP because system.out.println, right? It's a very trivial one to demonstrate. So what is the description? My preferred shorthand for system dot out dot println. So what I have to do? I have to just say system.out.println $end, where the control should end, right? And apply this and SOP. Okay. I forgot to put the language setting. So where is that SOP? Did I save it? SOP, yeah. So if I didn't define the context, so go to Java context, and in the Java context, it's not a comment, declaration, expression, etc. It's only a statement, right? And so done. SOP, and I'm able to get my first template and a happy emoji. So how many of you did your own template? Are you able to follow me?
Yep.
Awesome. So you can create, other templates. For example, many of you will have your own logging statements, the things that you keep typing again and again, right? I find it very comfortable to use our own templates for repetitive tasks.
Yeah. Cool. So I think, I think we are pretty much closing to the end of the session. I think so. Yeah. So I think so. Ganesh, have you just captured the email IDs that people have posted?
Okay, I haven't yet to copy. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
So guys, it's not that I know everything in IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, I am also a learner, so and I often learn by doing such sessions. So if I missed anything or made any mistake, please forgive me. But I had very good time covering this session, and I hope you had a very good time as well. And one last thing, I will share my LinkedIn link, and it will be great to be connected. And of course, you're sharing your email ID, so I will send an email with the book, and I will send the link for connecting as well, and hope to be connected.
Yeah, sounds great, Ganesh. So I think this was the most, productive session that probably everyone would have it. And I think if we bring it into practice, I think we will have more such sessions. And the very best part, which I like, was it was very hands-on. Ground level coders, developers that they need this information. So thanks a lot, Ganesh and Nishant, for arranging this. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Ganesh. It was very helpful and informative. Thank you, Jitin, as well. Yeah.
Yep. And thanks
Thank you, everyone, for
joining.
attending.
Yeah,
joining
the session. It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So
Thank
looking
you.
forward. So yeah, we'll have more such sessions, and even we'll invite Ganesh quite often to give all his sessions. I think he has upcoming AI dev, right? So Ganesh, you want to speak something about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I will share my screen. So AI is the new wave, right? So I remember the days when cloud was becoming mainstream, and now those are the early days for the AI and ML. So we have this AI Dev Day conference coming up. It's a free conference, and there are a lot of good speaker already lined up, and very very interesting sessions about how do we get business intelligence, how do we extract things from valuable insights from text and audio, conversational AI. ML ops is a big topic, right? ML ops, face detection, quantum machine learning, Azure text analytics. So all of this, right? So I will share the link to the conference. So please join. And thanks, Jitin. I forgot actually to share about the AI Day. Good that you reminded me. So hope you join. All of you join, and you can register right away. I would recommend that.
All right. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Ganesh. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jitin.
Ganesh.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Thank you,
I'll
everyone.
post. I think this recording will be available in some time, few hours, and then it will be there initially on the Mumbai Java User Group Twitter handle. So please follow it, and we will also share internally with all the India jugs and with Ganesh and everyone. So you will see the link there. So thanks a lot. Until next session. Have a good weekend, everyone. Stay safe and clean. Thanks.